Hey people, Fernando doing another video for the Modern Survivalist, and in this case talking about EDC knives. And in this video I want to make a couple recommendations. This was requested during a live stream this weekend. By the way, if you haven't followed those, every Sunday 3 p.m. Eastern time I do live streams in the channel, so if you wanna you stay around and have a little bit of a conversation there, drop a few questions, more than welcome. Let's get to it right away. So you have so many options these days, it's easy to get lost and not fully understand exactly what fulfills your needs the best. What I look at it these days, and of course these things constantly change, I look at it from this point of view. When it comes down to EDC, pocket knives, and multi-tools, multi-tools I feel should be included here in the discussion because it's basically still a tool that it has a certain amount of weight, it has a cutting blade, and yeah, if it's more complete, even better. And this isn't something new. I mean, you've had Victorinox knives for a while, and Victorinox knives are the original multi-tools because they exceed the utility of barely having just a simple blade, and they have a bunch of other tools along with it. So when it comes down to deciding what is it that you have in your pocket on daily basis, I think you can basically go 3 ways. You can go with something like what was asked when people were asking for recommendations. What is it a good pocket knife for outdoors activities, for camping, for bushcrafting even? What would be a good pocket knife for that, right? Maybe something like this Victorinox. This is an older model that I've had for many years. I've took camping many times. I've always took great care of it, so that's why it looks almost like brand new, even though it has a few marks and dings here and there, still pretty much in great condition. But this is a solid option for something like that, or anything in this line, right? Any good Victorinox knife in general would be a good camping kind of knife. Is it the best? Well, more on that a bit later, but this is a solid option, and most people will easily gravitate towards Victorinox when considering like a backpacking or camping knife. Then you have something that's more, at least the way I see it, in the practical, realistic way that I approach survival and preparedness, which is something that is the most useful tool in the most amount of possible scenarios. What is a tool that would fulfill and help me out in the most various different roles in which I may find myself when there's problems, when there's an emergency, or when there's just something that needs to be taken care of? I have no doubt whatsoever, and I know that sometimes I come across as very strong opinion. I usually reserve that for things that I have no doubt. I have no doubt whatsoever that if you're going to be carrying one tool in your pocket that does everything somewhat better than anything else, you're going to go with a Leatherman multi-tool, and you're going to go with a Charge or Wave. Wave, Charge, very much the same. This is a Charge, slightly nicer steel, and little differences there, but basically just like a Wave. This is the best multi-tool. This is the best tool in general that you can have in your pocket. You have not just one, you have 2 blades. One of these serrated with a belt cutting hook. The other one is more typical straight edge blade, very pointy as well. So yeah, you could even use this for some kind of self-defense. You can still do a lot of damage with something like this, but mostly it just covers so many things. You have a great saw, you have a great file, diamond coated file, nice saw on the other side, and of course bunch of our tools and the pliers from your multi-tool, right? This is the tool that does a little bit of everything better than pretty much everything else. A jack of all trades, master of none, but better than one kind of approach. Boom, there you go. And of course you can go with a fighting tactical folding knife. I think that's something like this, Cold Steel Vaquero Grande. This is a big folding knife that is obviously intended for that role, self-defense. Link Thompson thought of that when designing this kind of knife. So you can use it for other things. Yeah, I can use it to open a box. Sure, I can use it for opening in a box. I can cut some food. I can even use it for preparing like something like an asado, Argentine barbecue with chunks of meat on fire, right? You on top of coal or whatever fire you have going on, and you have nice reach, so it would do well. I could just poke a little bit and see how it's going, move stuff around. I could cut meat with this, yeah, but it's clearly mostly intended as a defensive use knife, as a defensive use tool. Now, here is where a tactical comes into play as well. What would be a tactical folder? You have a bunch of them. You could go with something that's a little bit more classy, something like a zero tolerance, which is it stronger? No, it does have better steel though, so nicer steel is definitely better, and it's quite pointy as well, so this would do very solidly well as a defensive tool. But here you're looking at putting more money towards nice things, the pleasure that you have in carrying a very high quality folding knife. It is very lightweight, premium materials, but it's not just a matter of having something that's a practical tool, right? Now, you could go with something, gapping these two, something that's a folder that is more of a utilitarian tool, something like this Pole Steel Voyager. Tanto tip, very strong, a little bit of serration for more utilitarian tasks, or something that I'm favoring these days, which is this CRKT knife, which has also a belt cutter. Right, belt cutter, glass breaker, also tanto tip and serrations. This is something that, yeah, you could definitely use it as a defensive blade, of course, and it would do very well in that role, giving this very, nice large guard that I have there and a solid tip, solid knife. But I could use this, in survival situations where you need your folder to be a bit of a prying tool. Yeah, this will do. You need a glass breaker, seat belt cutter, or any kind of rope that needs to get cut, a shoestring attached to an escalator, right? Anything that needs to be cut right away, even without opening the blade, even without deploying the blade itself, you can cut it, you can smash with it, you can use it for the self-defense too. No one's gonna be appreciating getting hit over the head with this thing, trust me on that. That's not gonna be a nice experience. But these would go into that role. You could go with something that is more basic, that still works great as a utilitarian general purpose knife, like this Cold Steel. This is a Pro Light, just your basic solid nice little knife. And for something even smaller, well, maybe not all that smaller, but something that is favored many times by smaller people, women, they like the Delica a lot. The Delica is super lightweight, still very sturdy. It could do some of this defensive role, and it's gonna be doing the general task of a folding knife very well. Of course, it's not gonna be this, and I would even argue that it's not gonna be doing these roles, right? The role that this CRKT can actually perform, but as a utilitarian, yes, close to the defense task, yeah, this will do okay. So as you see, you have kind of like a spectrum between these, and there's even better options for something that is going on the bushcraft outdoor survival kind of line, like the Soldier. The Soldier would be an improved version of this, and it's slowly getting into the more tactical survival approach, which is a single hand deployment. That's a big bonus that it has. And yeah, the name itself, this is the Soldier model. It's not just a name, it's actually used and given to soldiers in Switzerland and Germany, but probably other countries too. I think the US military has one in black that they give to their troops as well. But basically, you're looking at a nice folding knife, single hand deployment, does lock, so it does work as a solid utility tool, even a somewhat of a defensive use knife. Wouldn't be ideal, right? I don't even have a guard there protecting my hand. So yeah, not ideal for that, but clearly not the main intended role anyway. So if you look at it in terms of outdoors, yeah, you have a solid blade, you have a nice saw as well, and you have that can opener, bottle lifter. This is the one that I've used for quite a while, and besides having a nice straight edge blade, which is nice for whittling wood and carving and making some feather sticks, this will work nicely for that. It does lock. I don't feel there's any need these days, even though the classic Victorinox that doesn't lock, it's a slip joint kind of folding knife. I think there's no point in that, given that you have so many locking blade alternatives. You want to use it, more power to you. Great, that's always, whatever you like. But this one is quite complete. You have the nice scissors, you have the bottle opener and the can opener, which these days many cans are easier to open. And you have the corkscrew, which is often used in outdoors and bushcrafting kind of activities so as to loosen up knots. This tip does work nicely for that. And yeah, I've used this one as well as a little poking metal thing for numerous tasks. And you have, of course, the all-useful awl or punch, which does work very well, and it allows you to, maybe if you have to carve on wood, do holes. I've used it in plastic as well many times. Works great for all of that. This, I feel, is even a more complete version of something in this line, and even better than the Soldier, which is the model locksmith. I lose a corkscrew, but I have a Phillips, which I can still use maybe to open up a knot. I've loosened enough knots so as to know that this is probably the best tool for loosening up knots, the corkscrew. Again, not intended for that, but it does a great job for it. In this case, I have the Phillips screwdriver, I have the awl or ram as well. I don't have the sewing hole, so yeah, that's not something, but I do have a straight edge, which is gonna be better for the outdoors activities where, it's more about having a sharp blade and carving and cutting properly, and not just, sawing through stuff. And I have the nice saw, and I also have a very nice file, which is appreciated. And I think it's not only a better overall tool for bushcrafting and outdoors and camping, it is more complete, so it's bigger, but in that being more complete, it gets closer to this. I feel that the locksmith is the Victorinox that gets the closest to what the Leatherman Charge and Wave offers. Of course, without getting into the actual Leatherman multi-tools themselves, which some people love. I personally don't see much the point in them, giving that for almost the same price. Well, maybe they're cheaper, but I really like to have a clip in my multi-tool. So when it comes to multi-tools, I gravitate strongly towards Leatherman, but this is a very solid option in itself. Folks, that's all for now. If you want to learn more about survival and preparedness, especially regarding EDC and regarding the use of knives for self-defense, I have dedicated chapters quite a bit on that in the book, and a bunch of other stuff, street survival skills and the economic aspect of preparedness, surviving the economic collapse, available in Amazon on those links there below. Take care.